related matter, and was submitted by someone else. If elected or re-elected to the county board, how would you determine whether a conflict of interest exists between the county and a business seeking, and businesses seeking to do work with the county? Second part to that, if confronted with such a potential conflict, how would you attempt to resolve it? So you can, that's on topic. If you want to address that question, you can. I've lost track of whose turn it is to speak.
I have too. I think it's that was a question for me.
Yeah.
Could you just repeat it?
Sure, yeah, no, not a problem. I know it's a little long. If elected or re-elected to the county board, how would you determine whether a conflict of interest exists between the county and businesses seeking to do work with the county? And part of that, if confronted with such a potential conflict, how would you attempt to resolve it? So it's conflicts of interest and...
But I think the question would be referring to not a conflict of interest in the county and business. It would be between a county board member, a personal conflict of interest?
It says county. You can answer it how you would like to answer it.
I'm going to answer that as a personal conflict of interest. And I would say two things, because I have had to deal with this as a planning commissioner. Because I had, for example, a building where my business was located was up for redevelopment, and a proposal was coming through. And I wanted to make sure that my hearing this on the planning commission and participating as part of the review of that building, that there was not any kind of conflict of interest. So I think the first rule of thumb is that if there's any chance of appearance of conflict of interest, you certainly want to do your due diligence and look into that. And then the great thing, and what I did, and the resource that's available to us, is the county attorney. So we went to the county attorney, we explained the situation to him, and he came back and gave us the answer. So that's fundamentally, I think, how we would look at it. I think thinking more broadly in terms of how this works out and how it applies, and making sure that there's not any kind of backroom deal or anything like that, it all comes down to, again, the common sense and follow the money. I think if you follow the money, you generally understand where there's a conflict of interest or not. Thank you.
The board's pretty careful with this. As I said, if anybody offers me money, I just return it and take it. But often it's because you're doing work. So my colleague, particularly John Weiss, said, and I think Christian Dorsey also had some, sometimes in your personal life or your work life, you do business with a company, and then you recuse yourself from the vote. I did have one instance where I saw what looked like the appearance of a potential conflict of interest with one of my colleagues, and I sought to talk with my colleague about that. That person would not engage, then I sought to talk to my board colleagues about that. Unfortunately, they did not engage either. But I think it's very important that the board is above it and that we are very clear with our public if there is a potential conflict of interest and a board member needs to recuse themselves from a vote if there's even an appearance.